I didn't realize that I entertained that much until
you stopped entertaining.
Exactly.
Yeah, us too. We bought our house to entertain. And, well, I can say we're still entertaining each other. Does that count for anything?
Aw, that is even more important than the other, I think, these days.
I suppose, philosophically, sure.
But honestly, formal entertaining, I stopped doing the last couple of years just because of so many activities, community things, and school events. And now I realize, we did a lot of informal entertaining, go out to dinner with someone and then be like, hey, come over to our house for dessert and coffee afterwards. Right. And so we still had people over, and that's the more chill hangout one-on-one time without the pressure of making dinner and doing the dishes and doing all the
right,
other.
Just order pizza. Yeah,
exactly. And I miss that.
We never did formal entertaining. I had a whole setup downstairs, plastic plates, plastic everything, boom, 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 just whip it out, make a quick cheese tray. And when I say cheese, I mean just cheddar cheese and salami and crackers.
Cheese trays, something I miss.
Honestly, that really is one of the reasons we got this house. And I told Samir, I'm I don't know how long this is going to be, but literally last summer might have been our last summer, our last hurrah. And it was our first hurrah in this house.
You know what sounds really terrible, and I'm not saying I agree with Samir. I think there will be more hurrahs in the future. But I have been saying to the kids lately that I didn't appreciate 2018 as much as I needed to, because 2018 was amazing and 2019 was really great too. And I did not love it enough.
Yeah, I didn't either. But before, why don't you do an intro, Jess?
Hello, and welcome to the next episode of It's Your Time to Shine, a podcast about being a mom in a modern world. My name is Jaspreet, and with me is Lisa.
And as Lisa was saying, yeah, we didn't appreciate, this has definitely been grounding, because you're really thinking about all the things that you took for granted, right?
Absolutely. And it's not just the things that we can't do, because it's not about just changing our life, but it's also how we had built our lives around the assumption that when you interact with other people, whether you know them or they're strangers, that they are not going to cause you harm. And I think that's been a really hard thing to really digest and accept.
Yeah, that is hard. And you're not going to cause harm to someone else, both, So to
Totally.
live like that is something we never expected. And it's I don't even know anymore. I you asked me that last time, I think, about will you be able to shake someone's hand? I was like, yeah, I'll be fine. And now we're 6 weeks in, and I got to tell you, everything's changed. My perspective on that has changed too. I don't think I'll shake someone's hand for a long, long time.
I am so surprised, because you were very assertive last time that you would go back to that.
I know. And I think a lot of it also came from the realization that I can be a carrier and I would be the one to transmit. So that's kind of imprinted in my brain. And because even if when things get a little bit better later, it's still just going to be a part of it. And it'll be hard to get out of that headspace, if that makes sense. You know?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I can see that in other ways too. Obviously we've been talking to our children and reminding them that even with one another, we have to be careful about sharing drinks or sitting too close. And if we do go to a social distancing type of meetup, which we've only done 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they involved the kids just rolling down their windows, being in their car, and then our friends.
Yeah, we've been doing that, the 6 feet away, or the wave dates, as I call them.
So I'll be giving them all these reminders before a social distancing date, just to make us all feel more comfortable, right? Don't lean out of the car, and make sure you're not, leaning and doing this and that. And then the kids will now, when we're watching movies or watching shows, they'll point out stuff oh my gosh, coronavirus, you can't do that anymore. They're starting to notice this is not a good idea. When somebody says at the end of a discussion, they're virtual hugs, virtual high five, that's the new normal for them.
And it looks weird. When I watch TV, just people interacting, being, in a restaurant, at a club or anything, or hugging, I'm like, oh my God, that's so weird. What's happening? To think that or say that's so weird. He just hugged her and he just met her. No.
Don't watch any shows like Friends, where they would or Seinfeld, remember, where they're I dare you to go pick up a fortune cookie or an egg roll off of their plate and then go eat it.
Yeah.
There's no way.
No, but it's funny, with you with a 5-year-old, it's gotten pretty tricky. I mean, she understands, but she has one of her best friends one of her best friends lives down the street, and they'll text, say, hey, we're walking by. We're like, okay, we'll come out, and we live like on top of a big hill, like it's literally like 30 feet of distance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, okay, don't go down. We're just saying hi. But the other girl also is like, but, and we're both like, guys, and this is the beginning. They've gotten better now. But I was like, you cannot be near each other. Do you understand? They came just to say hi. They're walking by. We can talk to them. Molly, what can I play? And I was like, you can play Simon Says. That's actually a great game. Just stay where you are.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah, but I want to play hide and seek. I'm like, you're not playing hide and seek. Where are you going to hide? She goes, behind that tree. And I was like, that tree is someone else's property. We can't go there.
That's funny. Even with our kids, even though they're older, I've been worried about that because some parents were talking about the tailgate meetup, where everyone gets in their like SUVs or vans and then you park in a circle and you open up the tailgate and then the kids sit back there or the parents sit back there and you can like social distance hang out. I've been wanting to do that, but my hesitation is that the kids miss their friends so much that I would be worried. Like, all it takes is one kid who's not able to cope, and then they might feel worse. So I don't know. I've been hesitant. And for us, the situation is interesting because I have a high risk person in our house with my daughter having asthma, and she already has breathing trouble this time of year because of the oak allergies.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So we have to be extra careful. And with that, I've been wiping down the groceries and I haven't been to a store at all. Like I have not been inside of a store other than the drive up curbside, which is like all touchless down here. And so I've been hearing stories from other people like, oh, if there's a certain thing you need, sometimes if you go to the grocery store or early in the morning. And I'm like, I just can't risk it.
I don't either. And delivery's gotten much better the last 2-3 weeks. For a while, it was not good at all, but we were fine. I'm like, all right, I just got something. I got a lot, and then there was like a 10-12 day gap, but it's gotten better now, which tells me that people are going back to the grocery store because delivery's gotten better.
Yeah, maybe that, or maybe people are stopping buying so much all at once as well. It must be one of those two things.
Maybe.
One thing that we did was we started just planning our meals out a little bit more based on what we had rather than what we were in the mood for. And that's part of what's changing because we were very much an on-demand family. We might think like, oh, well, we'll have chicken next week, but then next week comes and on the day someone might say, but I'm in the mood for tacos. Can we like do a quick order from the grocery store and just like have Shipt deliver it? Or can you drive by on your way home and just grab the stuff? And we don't do that anymore. Now it's like, okay, here are our choices.
That's actually exactly because this week we actually went for like a 3-day same ingredient stuff like tacos, and then the next day fajitas, and the next day quesadilla. Like I didn't even think about it, but that's exactly what I was doing, trying to use all the same stuff because I don't know what I'm going to get.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So,
another thing that's been really tough for me is working. I feel like work has been a lot more intense as everyone's working from home and everyone's kind of in that always on mode, checking email all the time. And then on top of that, any breaks that I have from work, I feel like are dedicated to checking Google Classroom. And I hate to say like momming because Budum obviously is doing it too. Parenting, it's like going into parenting mode. And that has been exhausting.
Yeah, no, I understand. And you have 3 kids. I completely understand. It's either work or work. Because you're either homeschooling or...
Yes. I have 3 kids who have the equal frequency of not turning in assignments. And then their teacher will send me an email saying like, so-and-so never turned in this assignment. That will result in their grade dropping down to a 60%. And I'm like, I immediately freak out and Budum tells me not to. And I'm not normally like that, but I just feel like it's such high anxiety times that I can't turn that part of my brain off.
Yeah, no, to constantly have to be on top of them. And at that point, it's like, come on, just do your work. Like you're adding to my to-do. It's a lot to do.
And I'll give the teachers some credit because I know it's been really tough, the technology stuff, and they're doing the best that they can.
No, they are.
One amazing thing that they just announced yesterday, so this is like a really great thing for the kids here, is that there's going to be no finals except for advanced placement exams.
That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just averaging the grades based on assignments for the second semester. So I'm like, okay, that's like a great thing.
Isn't school over in Texas soon?
2 weeks, yeah, but in June, yeah, the first week of June is our last week.
Oh, okay. Summer, yeah, everything. I'm actually doing a story for work on distant learning. So following around a teacher in Alabama, some students over here. So
Yeah.
just seeing the daily grind. I have them self-recording. That's we have to be creative at this point. 'Cause
Oh, cool.
obviously I can't go, but as long as they can shoot, you know. So
Yeah, I wonder if the daily grind for them includes parents having to yell at their kids, and what happens to kids where the parents can't yell at the kids because they're actually out of the house working, like as essential workers. I would be really worried about that.
Oh my God, I didn't. You know, there's so many different angles that you don't think about until you think about. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think
Yeah,
about
totally. And our library here has been closed since the start of like the kind of national shutdown times, which was, what would you say, like the end, like end of March, kind of?
End of March, just about middle end.
Yeah. So, and they're closed until maybe the end of May. And that was a place where a lot of students would go to get Wi-Fi and devices, because you can check out like a laptop and then use the Wi-Fi there. And the director of the library was sharing with us that Wi-Fi usage is still up. People are driving into parking lots in the evening so their kids can get onto the Wi-Fi. And I can't imagine that either.
It's sad, but it's smart. Yeah, but still having to do that. Like, we don't think about it.
It is definitely smart and intuitive. I mean, to even have the luxury to just spend the whole week or spend the whole day doing a little work, then taking a break, watching something on TV, and then, working more. Like, some children don't have that. They're like, here, you have an hour, do everything that you can do.
That's really just gotta suck. Like, not having Wi-Fi and all those luxuries that, we have. And I feel very fortunate. That's why I try not to, like, complain too much, but you have your moments, So I kind of said that in the video I did for work. Like, all's good, but we still all have our moments. We just do, depending on your personal story. So,
and I'm so glad you said that, because even as we're going through it, like, there's so many things that obviously I'm grateful for, and yet there are some days where I'm just like, feel like I'm grieving.
Yeah.
Almost. Just it comes in a wave of like sadness and depression, and I've been trying to like meditate and be introspective about like, why do I feel the way that I feel, even like just with myself, to be able to come to terms with it so I can even have the conversation with the kids, so that because I know they're probably feeling it too, and I haven't been able to get to the heart of it. Like, I hear that one voice in my head that's like, what do you have to complain about? You are still working from home and earning an income. We're lucky to have this house where we can all spread out and have our own space if we need it. And yet there's some days where I just have been overwhelmed, feeling really anxious, not knowing what's going to happen tomorrow, wondering if we should move to an island somewhere, just our family, and like start a garden. I don't know what the purpose of that thought is, but that thought comes to my mind a lot.
But
maybe it's like an escapism thing.
Yeah. I understand that voice. I do understand the voice that's like, you got to be grateful, look at everyone else. But then I have another voice that says it's okay. It's okay to be sad for a second and grieve yourself, because they're not mutually exclusive. And I say this to anyone.
Yeah.
You can have both emotions and feelings. Doesn't mean you're less grateful. I try to give myself that compassion, because that's been kind of the running theme the last few weeks around here, is to have self-compassion. I've realized...
Oh, you're going to make me cry.
I've just... No, because I really want to teach Allie that, right? And I'm noticing that. Like, she's hard on herself, and she's like, I just don't know the answer, and she gets frustrated. And I am not perfect. We have had moments where I've yelled, and then a moment I stop, and I'm like, I am sorry, your mom's not... And then she finishes the sentence, perfect? I'm like, yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm sorry, right? But I'm like, but kid, I don't know. I know as much as you do about what's next and all, So I try to like practice self-compassion in front of her so she does it, So with her,
right.
She won't raise her hand because she has these she has Google Classroom online classes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the last month, I've gotten her to.
Oh, they're making them do that even in kindergarten?
Yeah, she is. She sits from 11 to 11:45, and then again from 12 to 12:15. It's a long time,
wow.
and she's next to me, and I watch her, and I watch the other kids, and I am very like, oh wow, that kid answered. Oh man, my kid. I do, and I try to be like, don't compare. You're gonna make her. I
Yeah.
do, but it's hard. That's all I'm saying. It's hard. I try to be aware. That's all I can do is be just have.
It's
aware.
like me saying, don't worry if they're behind on an assignment. And then as soon as I get that email notification, I freak out in my
Yes.
head. I'm like,
Exactly.
what the heck, guys?
Yeah.
I always start with that. I'm like, okay, no, just like be cool. Okay,
Yeah.
calm him down and then ask.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, kiddo, got a question for you. And then my next sentence, I'm like so loud and I'm trying to stop. And then they're probably like, what the hell's wrong with my mom? Because she'll start out like, hey, baby.
Yeah.
So, quick question. Why did you?
Yeah, you want to approach it with compassion. I will tell you, 9 out of 10 times I don't. And then finally when I do, it goes really well, So, but I finally got Allie to the point the other day, and I was very proud of her. I was very proud of her because I knew it took a lot for her. She raised her hand, and she got the answer wrong. And and the teacher was fine. Like, no, it's this. And then she's like, and she muted herself. And I looked at her, and then I was like, that was awesome. I'm just glad you raised your hand. It doesn't matter if you get it wrong. You tried, And then she went back, and she raised her hand again. And I knew she didn't know the answer. But I'm like, you keep raising that hand, kid. Because to me, that's an accomplishment.
She's working on it. That's awesome.
That is more of an accomplishment than always having the right answer. I've been very much like...
No, totally.
In general, too.
If your child's introverted and you've motivated them to speak up in a digital environment, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, I am proud of myself.
And if your child's extroverted and you get them to hush up in a digital environment, also amazing.
Exactly. And by the way, I will not mention names, but there are some kids who need to mute. Oh my God. Oh, I got in trouble the other day. Wait, I got a funny story. I got in trouble the other day. I didn't really get in trouble, but
before you do that, I have a less funny story, and then tell me yours, because yours I know is going to be really funny.
Okay.
So similar to that, the cool thing about my kids, because they grew up with two parents who are always on conference calls, they know all about muting when they join a meeting, and they know to like check the surroundings and their background before they get in a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that they knew about lighting and stuff. I was so impressed with that. But I have been like forcing my kids to go on their optional Zoom classroom meetings because I'm really worried that they're missing out on social interaction.
Yeah.
So I'm like, no, you have to go. You have to go. Okay, well, both of them are in, Hargun and Amrik are both in a Zoom classroom with their class. And they log in and they're like, hello. And the teacher's like, oh, do you have a question? Both of them separately, two different classes, are like, oh, no, actually, my mom wanted me to dial in because of social interaction. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, if you don't have a question, it was nice to see you and you can disconnect now. And I'm like, what? I was like, okay, mom, fail. That's fine.
That might be better than my story. Now I got to follow that up.
Go, yeah, hit us.
All right, here's my little story. Allie obviously mutes and unmutes herself, and I assume she's muted. She mutes herself. So there's a kid in her class who's like the whiz kid, right? She should probably be in second grade, okay? But she has all the answers.
Oh, wow.
She knows everything. She like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and read this. And I want to read this because I'm a really good writer and I want you guys to hear. And I'm like, oh, like eye roll. And the teacher, she's the one who, the teacher always tells her, can you please mute? Please mute. Can you please mute? Anyway, so one day they were talking about something like the letter CR, like how to pronounce it. And the girl was like, oh, yeah, if you put an O and then this, but then if you were to put this letter in front of it, then this would happen. But if you do this, and I, like loudly, I was like, oh, Lord. Next thing I know, I heard her teacher go, Allie, can you please mute?
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. Hold on a second. I need your address. I want to put the Mom of the Year award in the mail for you. I'm going to do it right now.
That's what I told Samir. I was like, the teacher's like, thank God someone said it. And all the parents who heard were like, yes. But
that's really funny.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
And kind of mean, but still funny.
I'm surprised I didn't hear from her mom because her mom and I actually like got along. But she's a little weird, which, I'm like a jerk. And I'm like, how do weird parents have smart kids? Anyway, I'll stop. So,
Oh my goodness.
Samir's like, have you learned nothing from life?
Ashton Kutcher had this really interesting theory that in order to be a genius, like something difficult in your life has to happen to like activate that gene. And like I look at my parents, right? My parents are both really smart and came from completely different backgrounds. Like my dad, privileged education, grew up in an upper class family, was sent to America to pursue his dream of studying physics and becoming an engineer. My mom, like, didn't really get to go to school after the 8th grade because she had to take care of the family by cooking and farming. Didn't have a father figure after the age of like 15, got married when she was 15 and sent off to a brand new, basically, state with a completely different language. And it's like, not much in common, but both had like adverse environments and something triggered and like they were really smart. And then I look at me and I look at my kids and I'm like, what's going to be our adverse
I know,
thing?
right?
Maybe it's this. Maybe living through this pandemic.
No, you're right though. I mean, what's going to be a character building in our lives or for our children?
Yes,
That's it. Adversity.
What will they
Yeah.
write their college essays about?
I know, exactly. Oh, my life by the pool during the pandemic.
Or my life, I didn't have a pool, but all of my neighbors did.
All they can do is be self-deprecating and just own it. Like, look, I'm privileged and I own it. That's a good college essay right there.
I was thinking that they could be like, starting tomorrow, they could start working on changing the world, Lisa.
Yeah, starting tomorrow. You actually don't do Allie. I mean, because we do a lot of good pieces for work, a lot of pieces about giving back. So we did a piece about 2 weeks ago about a 8-year-old who's like started his own nonprofit helping military vets get back on their feet. It was an awesome story.
Oh, cool.
Awesome kid, very confident. And I had Allie watch it, and then Allie got into the story and she liked the kid, so she watched it like 30 times. I'm like, this is great. I don't know how much, but that's the most I do. I'm like, here's perspective. Look what this kid's
but that's
doing.
you're inspiring her. You're laying the foundation.
I'm trying.
And then when she's a little bit older, she can start implementing when she comes to visit her cousins in Texas.
I'm gonna come to you for advice once everything. I don't think my kid. Let's just say the last conversation a few days ago. Mommy, I don't have this. I don't have a necklace. I don't have a Moana thing. And I was like, okay. And then I was just quiet, and I was like, so what do you do? What do you have? She goes, I knew you were going to ask that. I'm like, okay, great. What do you have? What do you appreciate? She's like, I have
What did she say?
I have a pool. I have, what'd you say? I have a pool. I have food. I have a house. So the things we talked to her about. Then she went, I have a perfect mom. I was like, now I know you're lying. And she started laughing. That was the end of that.
That's cute. It's so funny that you mentioned that because, okay, quick backstory. Bhavni, my oldest, has been wanting to paint her room. And she had picked out paint colors, gotten samples, and painted squares on her wall, like so that we could see in different lighting which color was best.
Yeah.
And the plan was going to be after spring break, we would come back and then we would get the painter to come and paint. Well, as things happened, we can't just let painters come and paint in our house just yet, right? So we're not at that point. So she still has those squares. And I was telling her, I was like, when I was a kid, we just painted our own room. Like, that is also an option. We could order the paint, what color it is, and then order the supplies and then just paint our room. So she was like, really?
And it's very therapeutic.
Yes. And I was like, hey, and you and I have like painted rooms together. Like, we've done that, right? So I was like, oh, we could actually do this. And as we were discussing the logistics of it, and I was explaining to her, covering all the furniture and doing those things, I noticed on her wall a vinyl cutout. So I have one of those vinyl cutting machines I had printed for her when she was about Allie's age and we had moved into this house. Mm-hmm. She was having trouble with not being grateful and always talking about things that she didn't have. And so I had this quote that was supposed to be like above her bed back when she had a bunk bed with her sister. And it said, gratitude turns what we have into enough.
Oh, wow. Nice.
I just happened to look at it yesterday and I was thinking, obviously we're going to have to peel that off, right, before we paint because it's going to get messed up in the painting. And I realized, I was like, oh, why does she even have that? She's the most grateful kid out of anyone I know.
Oh, that's so interesting. You kind of had a gauge, so you could actually, because that reminded you of
Yes.
an incident, of a story. So you're like, oh wow, she actually wasn't.
Yes, it
Yeah.
reminded me of a time. And I
Yeah.
actually, believe it or not, I actually remember having the conversation with her
Mhm.
where I put it on the wall and I said, this is why I'm putting this on the wall, because every morning and every night when you get up, I want you to see this and keep this in mind for the day. And then when you go to bed, I want you to see it and think about all the great things that happened.
Oh.
And I am telling you, Lisa, that worked because the kid is so, so grateful.
Can you pay that forward to me? Can I have that, or do you have it, or is it like a decal, or what is it?
Yeah, I have it. I'll send it to you. So what I was thinking now was like, you know what we should really do? Like we talk about self-improvement, and you've always inspired me to like think about one thing, specific thing that I want to improve upon, rather than just making the list and feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
But like, okay, seriously, no kidding, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And I thought like, this is so awesome. It can be like the message of the year or the message of the month or the message of the week, but like putting that up for your kids, it obviously works. It makes a difference. So like I need to do that again. I need to refresh it and get like, what's the next thing to work on for all of us?
Yes.
And put the little quote by their bed.
And we know what we need to work on over here. So send it. I really want that. I think that's just a cool, just cool for me to have after Bhavneet, and now Ali can have it. And then we will later on, give it to someone else.
Yeah, that would be so cool. I think that would be awesome. And that's maybe the first thing that I've ever, as a mom, looked at and been like, measure success, So that was exciting.
No, definitely. That is the biggest measurement. Not whether you got the right answer, wrong answer, good writer, but gratitude. So, but yeah, we actually did paint our guest room, and that was fun. Ali helped us paint. It looks really nice. I'll send you a picture. We
Oh,
changed
that's
it.
so cool. You're so good about just painting. My sister-in-law's like that too. When we talk about painting, she's like, all right, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm usually not. We hired someone to do it, and then because of coronavirus, we're like, let's just paint ourselves.
Yeah. No, you've inspired me. I think that'll be a fun project for her. I love the feeling after you paint a room. Every time you walk in there, you're like, oh, I forgot this is a completely different room now.
Samir's going to get mad at me when he listens to this, so I just want to say this. He actually did most of the painting. I was
that's
watching.
funny. Okay.
And then we had Ali help out.
I will say one thing, as much anxiety as I've been feeling towards like life and how to integrate into like the normal life that we used to have, whatever that means. One thing that has been a saving grace for me is gardening and being able to like get out in nature in a remote way.
Very therapeutic.
I think everyone I know has been like starting a garden or doing something outside, but I have just been like every day just forcing myself to get out and get the vitamin D and just like clear my head a little bit.
It's so important to just get out, just outside, sleep, everything it's so gardening's very
totally.
therapeutic. It's something I can't it's intimidating for me, but it's therapeutic, I hear. So anyone who does
Yeah,
it, it's a very
absolutely.
centered energy when you do it. I center myself by hanging out by my pool. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's also the outdoor nature of it, right?
Oh, yeah, we are outside all the time. Ali and I, we actually do a daily, we go outside all the time, but we actually have this 15-minute thing we do right before lunch where we run down the street halfway down and come back. So we're tired and
That's
endorphins
awesome.
because we both need it. It's like a brain break for the day. We both need it. Like I'm staring at a computer, she's staring,
Yeah.
And this is after her class.
Yeah, totally. And a fresh air boost too.
Yeah, exactly. She has her class because she's in front of that thing until 12:15, and I'm like, all right, we're out, both of us. Let's go before lunch. We're gonna run.
So I have this little joke that if we were like a company, Hargun would be the CEO because she always has like the vision, and then Amrik would be the CTO because he's always like into technology and like the latest gadgets. And Bhavneet would be the COO because she's always about like getting things done and being reliable and, just making sure that everyone's like engaged and has good feelings.
Jeez, they're like the perfect person.
Yeah, it's really funny. So I sometimes make that joke. And one day last week, Hargun's like, okay, we all have to go on a walk. And I said, okay, sounds good. Like, give me 2 minutes, and we've been waiting as it's getting warmer here in Texas. We've been waiting till the sun's starting to set. So it just cools off a little bit. And I said, okay, let's just wait, like 15, 20 more minutes. And she's like, okay, and she calls her brother and sister and she's like, we're going on a walk. And they both said no. And she was like, I'm sorry, but you both need forced family time together. And I said, what? And I just like, I looked at Bottom and I didn't ask her, but I was like, what is going on? And she said, I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry to be the one to say this, but they are not getting along very well and they need forced family time to get through this.
Oh my
And I was like,
God. She's like the family therapist.
Oh. I know. And I
Wow.
didn't want to make a big deal out of it,
Yeah.
even though I was totally making a big deal out of it in my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I was like, guys, I think she has a point. And
Yeah.
they were like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And then she says, both of you need to put your shoes on. We are leaving in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes goes by. Neither one of them move. She's standing outside. We have a bunch of like flip-flops and sneakers in the back door because we've been going out so much.
Yeah.
She's standing in the back with the screen door open. And I'm already outside. And she was like, we are not going to leave until you come out here and have forced family time and get along. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know. And I was like, okay, she's really on a mission. And I wanted to ask her like what happened, because obviously something had transpired before we got, like before I had heard about this.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I waited and we start walking. Bottom ended up not being able to go because he had to take a call. And so we started walking. No one's talking the first few minutes. And then Hudgun, she doesn't beat around the bush, you know. She's not like, oh, let me start a conversation so that they'll get involved.
Yeah, she keeps it real.
She's just like, so what should we talk about, guys?
Yeah, I love that.
And then no one said anything. After a few minutes, I said like, oh my gosh, look at that. You know, something on the street. Like I pointed to something and then we started talking. And by the end, everyone, at the end of this hour-long walk, everyone was talking and laughing. And we get back to the house and we obviously take our dog with us when we're walking also. So I stopped at the back and I let her off her leash. And then Hudgun turns to the group and goes, now don't you guys feel better?
Aw. That's such a sweet, awesome story.
And they were like, yes, Hudgun, thank you.
Aww.
It
Good
was
for
so
Hudgun.
cute.
She's persistent. She's, yeah, very good. Good for her. For getting the family out there and walking. And yeah. So I'm going to call her Dr. Hudgun. So
Yeah, totally. And I think that's probably another good outcome, right? Is like we're noticing each other and knowing how our family members are feeling also.
yeah,
Better than we did before.
definitely. We definitely know everyone a lot better than we ever would have had this not happened. So there's that perspective.
Yep, that's all the perspective that we need. Tell us your stories. We'd love to know how you're coping. How are you adjusting? Are you using outdoor family time? We're guessing that you are. And as always, thanks for listening.